Make It Loud Studios presents Improving Your Digital Marketing with John and Cliff.
Hi, I'm John.
I'm Cliff.
And we are with Make It Loud. We specialize in digital marketing for small and medium-sized businesses of all kinds. And Cliff, how long have you been at this?
It seems like about 1,000 years.
It's not quite that long.
No, 16? Yeah.
Longer.
Is it?
Well, you've been 16, right?
Yeah.
I'm 20. 20 years at this doing digital marketing.
Yeah.
I started doing digital marketing when websites were new. Back
And
in
the yellow
2004.
pages were a thing.
Yeah, they were. In fact, we rescued a lot of people from the yellow pages back then. So we're starting a podcast here. We want to be able to bring value to you to help you understand how to go market your business. And we figured today that we would talk about why a lot of your digital marketing isn't working.
Because a lot of it isn't.
A lot of it isn't. We see a lot of people. We have a small business here in Beaufort, Georgia. We have a storefront. In fact, people walk in and they come and consult with us. In fact, right near the cultural center of Beaufort.
The Mall of Georgia?
The Mall of Georgia.
I don't know about that. It's a center.
If you're nearby, come by and visit us. But
Yes.
we sit down with people. We spend, generally speaking, about an hour to an hour and a half with people reviewing their digital marketing, their current digital marketing, or assessing what they would go like to do. And Cliff, I would say, what do you think the percentage is? I would say 75%?
70, at least 70, if not 80%, have had just horrific experiences with other either digital marketing nerds, SEO nerds. Just they've had a hard time finding people that'll do the right work.
It's really true. In fact, I would say roughly 75% of the people who walk through the door are just out $3 to $5 grand.
Yeah.
They've spent some money on a website, and it just hasn't. They've either not started it, not finished it, and they're not taking calls anymore, and they're just out the money. They're in Canada or India or some other place.
Right.
So their vendor is not trusted, and they can't get their cash back. If it's search engine optimization, I'll tell you, I think the percentage is higher.
Yeah.
If you're paying somebody for SEO, ridiculously laden with fraud, most of the time when people come in through the door and I look at a site that's been SEO'd, I see no evidence of SEO on it at all.
And we have secret ways to find out.
Not so secret.
They're not so secret.
No.
We'll teach you. But yeah, we find a lot of people that are paying for SEO. They've been paying an agency for a long time. And I look at the site, and in 5 minutes I can tell if somebody's actively doing SEO or somebody's just, saying they're doing
your
it.
title tag says home.
That's a sign.
Probably a sign.
That's a sign.
If somebody hasn't logged into your website in a while and you don't see any new content and you're not ranking, now if you're ranking and the content isn't new, hey, leave it.
Right.
But if you're not ranking and you don't see any new content being delivered to your website, that's a real sure sign that you're paying for some search engine optimization that's just not working.
Right.
And that the person who's doing it is not really doing it at all.
Yeah, and one of the signs I see, one of the signs I see a lot is no Google Analytics. In order to attach Google Search Console, which is another helpful tool for SEO nerds, you have to attach Google Analytics. And Google Analytics tells you things like how much traffic you're getting, where the traffic's coming from, what device they're using. It drowns you in data that a lot of it is helpful in terms of figuring out what you need to do. But if you don't have analytics attached to the site, how are you going to know how the site's performing?
Yeah, there's no tracking. It really is tracking. It's like anything else in life. If you want to grow in the weight in the gym, you want to work on your diet, you have to track. And analytics is the tracking version of the web world.
It's really true. One of the things I always say is what's observed and measured improves. And if you're not attaching the basic standard tool for measuring your website's performance, that to me is missing basic blocking and tackling of SEO. And we see it all the time. We see meta descriptions that are just, extensively too long or not at all, or like he said, home on the home page, just dumb stuff.
We had one poor lady that came in here. She was about $8,000 out of money. And when we looked at her website, she only had, by the way, one page after spending 6 months with this other web development company. And when I looked at that one page, which by the way was also unfinished.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
All of the text was embedded in images. So it was a website zero or an SEO zero when it comes to actually Google paying attention to the site. Not to mention ridiculously embarrassing to the client and money out the window.
And just awful. And that's one thing that breaks our heart because by nature we want you to succeed. That's
Absolutely.
our whole goal. We don't, we can talk about metrics all day of success, and that's fine, and there are plenty of them to talk about. And you should have key performance indicators, but one of the biggest ones is your phone ringing. And if that's not happening, then nothing else really matters.
You can't find yourself at all in a basic search. If you're not on page 1. What's the percentage of people who, when they're actually searching for something out, Cliff, actually go to page 2?
Pretty close to 0.
So.
The standard joke, which is so tired, is you can find Jimmy Hoffa on page 2. Yeah,
We're
I didn't make it
calls
up.
from Jimmy Hoffa's family, probably.
Right. Yeah. I'm
I
sorry.
think so.
I
That's
apologize to everybody in the Hoffa family. But yeah, it's just not happening, and we see the evidence of that, and our goal, we take a very aggressive approach to SEO. Whereas some, and this is a secret that a lot of SEO agencies won't tell you, but they'll say, oh, we'll do SEO for X amount, and X amount is too good to be true, of course. And they'll say, and they'll tell each other behind the scenes, they'll never tell you this, they'll say, oh, we're only going to do X number of landing pages or X number of blog posts per month.
Which could take you 3 years.
Oh yeah, or if you ever get there. We're way more aggressive than that. We don't put any kind of limit on pages we do, because it depends on what you do in your industry. So that's another thing, is people are paying for SEO in industries that are ridiculously competitive, and it usually takes them about 3 to 6 months to realize that their SEO isn't working. And that's a scary thing when you're a business owner, paying that kind of money. And even if it's a little amount, you shouldn't be paying any for, unless you see the clear-cut evidence of what the agency's doing. And we're very transparent in that regard. It's like we're teachers by nature. So we want to educate you. We want to show you what we're doing because we're proud of it.
One of the other things I see a lot of when people come in is they go, hey, I just have my website redesigned. I just paid for a website. I'd like to do search engine optimization. I'd like to market it. And I would say probably 50% of the time the website is either in the wrong platform, and generally speaking, most people who are aggressive in SEO are designing in WordPress. And there's a reason for that. WordPress has tools that we call them plugins, but they're basically just apps like you would have for your telephone, and they help you optimize your website for Google search that in such a way that would be really helpful. Those kinds of tools are not necessarily present in some of the DIY platforms. We're not going to name them because there are so many of them, and they're making improvements in those kinds of things, but still you have some similar kinds of issues with them, that the tools are not present to be able to go rank a site favorably. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the time, if somebody comes in, either they've tried their own website or they've hired somebody who's done it in a DIY platform, choose whichever one you like, their search engine results really just stink. And I had a friend come to me, in fact, even in the last week, and said, hey, you know what, I got a flooring company, and I just had my website redone, and I'm paying for search engine optimization, but I can't find myself, and my phone is not ringing. So I took a look at the site, we checked the builder first, and it was in a DIY platform, and he's like, well, why isn't the SEO working? I go, well, first off, you got home in the title tag. It's
there's your sign.
It's done in a platform that really is meant for DIY kind of stuff, and ultimately there's not enough content even on the website to rank it, and no shown effort at doing so. So I couldn't find any evidence on his website, and he's spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on this per month with somebody and not getting a result. So there's ridiculous fraud in the industry. Some of the other things that we see all the time are websites that don't meet modern or current even standards. Occasionally we'll see websites that aren't mobile friendly, which is still a ridiculous problem as well. 60% of search, is that correct, is done on mobile devices. So you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. The other thing that we see a lot of too is a website that is not designed appropriately for a specific industry. The one that comes to mind was one that showed, and this gentleman paid an awful lot of money for this website. In fact, we knew the company that designed it, and they spent time interviewing him and things like that. And his website was done in earth tones, and it had a video of him kind of in a swimsuit with a top.
Was it a bikini?
It was. God, no, we don't want that.
No.
But showed him in a swimsuit and kind of hanging out in a boat somewhere, which is kind of the wrong message, by the way. If you want to hire people, or you want people to hire you for
don't put vacation pictures on your homepage?
Not appropriate. It was a video actually as well.
Oh, okay.
The menu was kind of on the side, so if you really wanted to read the menu, you had to kind of do that. It didn't work.
So it was from early 1990.
You would think, but it wasn't. This was in the last 10 years. This thing was created, and they for the shots they had his name, and they had him dressed in all leather with a. I'm serious. You can't make this shit up. With this leather hat with a wide rim and dressed in all leather. And we used to use this website actually for some of the training we used to do and say, okay, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I want you to look at the website, and I want you to tell me what it's about. So I'd put the thing on the screen for 10 seconds and give somebody an opportunity, actually give a crowd an opportunity to do it, and they go, he's a comedian. Which it did kind of.
He's an explorer.
An explorer was the other one. They thought this guy was an explorer.
He's Indiana Jones.
So, in all actuality, this guy sold insurance.
Yeah, no.
So
and not much of it at that point.
So color schemes matter, design matters, impression matters, and these are the kinds of things we spend an awful lot of time on at Make It Loud with respect to website design. Making sure that your website meets industry standards.
Right.
Should I tell the one about the logo for the vet?
You can. It's gonna be hurt me.
It is gonna hurt you. I know that. So I went into a vet one time and I kind of did a visual assessment of the website and with the vet and I said your color scheme needs to change. It was red and black.
Go dogs.
Go dogs.
Go
and
make it loud.
That's why she had it. She had red and black. She was a dogs fan. So I said, you're basically a hospital for pets, and red is
blood,
and black is
death.
So you're basically very subconsciously saying that your animals are coming here to die.
Bring him here to die. That's
so we had that conversation. She quickly exited me from the building because she did. Well, we didn't get hired
right
for that one.
She fired us before ever hiring us. So
this is true.
She didn't want to.
But it doesn't.
I do applaud the fact that she was sticking to her UGA guns.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, I know.
She'd have done better if she was from tech.
For sure.
But you really want to have stuff that's color appropriate. Blues and greens would have been more appropriate. Blues are kind of stability and health, and green is life, and these kinds of things. Believe it or not, very very subconsciously, but very really communicate things about your business as well. And a lot of the sites we see just do not meet industry standards, even if they happen to be designed in the right platform.
Right. And you brought up something a minute ago that I want to touch on. You know, we want to talk about web design, and we want to make sure that you have the right website for your industry and for what you do. But let's back up. In order to be on page one, which is the core reason anybody does search engine optimization, you know, if you're not on page one, you're basically absent. You're missing. You're missing out a lot to the competitors that are on page one, because people are searching for what you do. So that's an important piece. And you talked about the platform before. What's interesting about the platforms is you have the DIY platforms that are boxes. And in those boxes, you build out your pages and you put your content and the images and all that. And remember, for a website, you have about 6 seconds to answer some basic questions. What can you do for me? Can I trust you? And what do I do next? Those are the core issues the core questions you have to answer, and in order for anybody to proceed. So once you have that established, that box, if you want to step outside of the box in any way, shape, or form, or fashion, it's difficult to do. Whereas WordPress is roughly 46% of all sites you click on.
I think if you include the proprietary sites, like you have companies that just sell chiropractic websites.
Correct.
If you include that, it's over half the websites on planet Earth.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of folks out there that market and say, oh, we do, websites for X, Y, and Z industry, and some do a good job. A lot of them don't. So there's that. They just say they do, specialize in whatever. That's fine. But my point is that when you have a box for a website, if you want to step outside of it, it's very difficult to do. Whereas WordPress is a platform, and it allows you, like he said, to have apps and so forth to build out as far as you want, as much as you want, and that gives you a lot more flexibility. That's why I like working with WordPress more than other platforms. It's not to say I will. Not to
mention the aesthetics are generally significantly better as well.
For sure.
In WordPress versus some of these DIY platforms too.
Yeah, and there are also bigger platforms. Like we've got a client right now in big commerce, and that client's killing it in terms of visibility for what they do. A lot of that depends on what your industry is and how competitive your industry is. And
in fact, there may be some people who are who have a website, maybe it's in WordPress or not, and you're actually not a good candidate for search engine optimization.
Correct.
There are some people who it just doesn't work for. We have different tools. In the box here, we got social media marketing. We have Google paid ads as well. I'm convinced that even like for a search for like attorney in Atlanta, that there are people paying good money for SEO, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Per month.
Yeah. Correct.
And who are still on page 2 or page 3 because it's so ridiculously competitive. It would take a team of people all their time to continue to optimize something like that because the competitiveness is so ridiculous.
And a lot of people think we sacrifice chickens to get on page 1 now.
Attorneys, none recently.
Attorneys, no. Well,
no.
For a fast food chicken,
what did you
maybe.
have for lunch?
Chicken. So maybe not that kind of chicken, but for attorneys in Atlanta, there's going to be some sacrifices, and it's usually financial. That's incredibly competitive.
Yeah, HVAC companies also ridiculously competitive.
I mean, we've been doing okay with that one. I mean, weight loss, Viagra, we won't even touch. Realtors, those are some industries that are just ridiculously competitive. So we'll be honest with you about that, and we'll tell you point blank right up front.
And it's the right tool for the right job. Sometimes search engine optimization is warranted, and it can generally speaking, for a larger search area, be a little less expensive. Social media marketing also works very well. By and large, your 40 and over crowd is on Facebook, and your 40 and under crowd is on Instagram. So they're both a part of Meta, and you advertise on those kinds of things, and that can be really fantastic. But not every service is really good for social media marketing. It doesn't search well. So if you're a locksmith and you lock your key out of your car, your keys out of your car, you're not going to Facebook to look up the locksmith.
You're not?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you do that?
No.
Okay, just checking.
I haven't locked myself out of my car recently. But
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But then you want to be in Google in some way, shape, or form. So that narrows it down to either Google paid ads, which will put you right up at the top, depending upon how much you pay, or search engine optimization, which puts you at the top of the organic section in Google, which, by the way, is ridiculously more clicked than any of the other links on the page.
And that's one of the points too, is that there are a lot of digital marketing agencies who have custom, or they don't have custom, they have these packages that they'll say, oh, well, choose A, B, or C, and that's it. I don't really subscribe to that at all, because the issue there is that most businesses have factors that we need to consider in order to match the right digital marketing tools for the best return on investment. And that's one of the questions we always ask is, what's your average customer worth? Because every digital marketing component needs to pay for itself. Otherwise, why do it? You don't want to, you're not in the business of losing money. Nobody is. So we have to match that.
And there are people we turn away. We sleep well at night. I tell people all the time. And if somebody comes in with an idea that doesn't work or isn't going to make money or is ROI negative, we just kind of turn them away. We don't.
Or porn.
Oh yeah,
recently.
we definitely turn those away too.
Yeah,
It's kind of
that's
not who
not
we are
Yeah.
as a company.
You had one last week that came in.
Yeah, there's like, no, I don't think we're gonna go do that.
No. And we had one run there where a couple months where we had like 10 people come into the shop and say, I want SEO. And I'd say, great, let's look at your site. And as I looked at their site, I saw either design disasters, no kidding. I mean, some of them were truly disasters. One guy did backyard landscaping that was fantastic, and he was getting like 10,000 per yard, I think, back years ago in California, whatever. He was getting ridiculous rates, and his website was atrocious. And I told him that. I said, look, it's not that I won't. And he said, you mean you won't take my money for SEO? And I said, no, I'm not going to take your money. Somebody will, and they'll take a lot of it. But the point is, with this site, you're going to be driving traffic to a site that's ugly and not conversion friendly, and you're just tossing your money out on the highway. And he got mad at me, but I think by the time he left, he understood what I was saying, is that I'm just not willing to set your money on fire.
A good website, and the right website, is always the first step.
Correct.
Because there is so much money to be lost in digital marketing. So we can go optimize a horrible website, get you to the top of Google in either the paid ads or in search engine optimization, and all you're doing is driving people to your competitors.
That's exactly what
they'll see the site and they'll go, yeah, I ain't staying. So you're paying all this money for optimization, and you have choices to make. You can either have a really good website, and as these clients come and visit your website, you can get 100 leads, or as these clients come to your website, you can get 2.
Right.
So and by and large, the cost of a website is not so expensive compared to a couple of months, 2 or 3 months worth of marketing. Very easy to pay for a site that way. So you want to make sure that you do these things the right way. You get the website you need. We recommend a WordPress website by a developer who's got a track record of doing it, whether it's us or not. Find somebody who's been doing this for a while. I think in our particular county, which is one of the most populous counties here in Georgia, I think we're the oldest web design company in the area.
That's because you're old.
That's really true.
I'm older, but man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just part
You're
of
going
it.
to find somebody with some experience who's got a track record of doing this stuff. We got clients who just swear by our work and who are making money by our work. And people ask all the time, what do you do? It's really simple. We put food on the table for people. It really does come down to that. We help a client make money. The client makes money, brings home the bacon for themselves and for employees, and it provides for people. It really is that serious an endeavor, and we take it that seriously. So go ahead.
Tell them about the water guy.
The water guy?
Yeah, we recently did a website for a water restoration company.
Oh yeah.
And he had a site for how long?
Years.
Yeah, and
that was the one that was possessed.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, and it might have been actually. There was something.
He came in and he said the website was possessed, and I said I've never seen one of those. We did an exorcism. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And we tried to rank it. Guess what?
It was possessed. He was right.
Didn't move.
Yeah, it was dead on arrival, and we couldn't budge that thing. So we essentially built another one for him.
That we knew was not possessed.
Correct. Yes. We'd have the holy water and everything. Did a little ceremony, and he started ranking, and he called you.
Called me and said, you know what? And I don't know what you guys did, but I've got four no chickens. Well, that would be funny.
It would.
Maybe they're floating in the water. Yeah. So he got 4 calls the first month. He said, look, put me in front of people, I'll sell them. Guess what he did? 4 calls, sold all 4. And as he's continued, he's been getting a call or 2 a week, and the guy's staying busy after years of paying for stuff that he really shouldn't be paying for, not having the results he needed, and if it doesn't work, we'll be the first to kind of pull the plug on it.
Absolutely.
So your money has to have a value to you, and obviously it has value to us as well if you're paying us to go do the work. But you're investing in your company, and it's got to have a return for you, and we insist on those kinds of things. But start with a website, then sit down and get a consultation from whoever it might be to find the right tool for the right job. You want to make sure that you're spending your money wisely. That's another issue. Sometimes we have people doing social media marketing for stuff like Locksmith, which they shouldn't be doing, and they've gotten bad advice on these kinds of things. So we'll sit down with you and have a consultation. Make sure you get that consultation with somebody. We'll spend an hour hour and a half with a client, potential client, to kind of review their goals, to set up a strategy, make sure we can use their website. If we can't use their website, to begin to incorporate the website as part of the strategy, and then kind of move from there. And you have options, and we lay them out.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to make sure that you're investing the money in the right thing as well. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to know that you're in the right area of marketing, instead of just going, oh yeah, well, I think that sounds like a good idea. I need social media marketing. When people have a deficit or a vacuum of some sort in their business, they think, oh well, they just want whatever is shiny in front of them. But we help change that to making sure the right thing is shiny.
Yeah, and part of that conversation, again, goes back to ROI. We ask people, what's your average customer bring you? Once they give us that number, then we work through and kind of reverse engineer what each marketing element needs to accomplish in order to pay for itself. Because let's face it, all marketing is a trip to Vegas. Okay.
It's true.
And what you're trying to do in these conversations is hedge your bets so that you win more than the house wins, and that's really the issue there. Mm-hmm. For example, SEO. The average cost of SEO across this country is about $1,000 a month. Okay, so if you come in and you say I want SEO, but your average customer only pays you $50 to $100. You see what
doesn't work so well. The math doesn't work.
Yeah, you see how much SEO has to bring you in order to pay for itself. But if you tell me your average customer is $2,000 and you're paying $1,000 a month, then you start to see how SEO has to bring you one customer a month. How doable is that? Very. Okay, that's when you start realizing the potential of how much money you're leaving on the table.
And that's also where we turn away work.
Correct.
So if somebody comes in, the ones we get a lot are T-shirt sites.
Yeah.
And somebody go, hey, can you build me a T-shirt site? Well, absolutely, sure. I can build you a T-shirt site. Well, I want to be at the top of Google. I'm out.
And I want to be sitting on the top of gold
yeah.
bullion.
So again, you do the math. It's a $20 shirt, and they go, yeah, $20 shirt. Mm-hmm. The shirt costs you $10. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's $5 to imprint it or embroider it or whatever that might be.
Right.
Yeah, and then you got shipping on top of that, and you might make a little money on shipping or not, but your profit margin is about $5 a shirt, and you go, well, how many shirts do you need to sell to make $10,000?
A buttload.
It's a lot.
A buttload.
It's a lot.
That's a measure.
That's where we turn people away. If it's a bad idea, we just don't do it because we don't sell disappointment.
That should be our new marketing slogan.
Yeah, we don't. Instead of we get results, we don't sell disappointment.
I like it.
At least not intentionally.
I'd wear that
right?
shirt.
Would you really?
Yeah, print that up.
All right,
buy that
deal.
one.
Instead of broadcasting your business to the world, we don't sell disappointment.
We don't sell disappointment. We bring all your hopes and dreams to make them right.
That's right.
Make them true. It's funny.
If you have questions about what we do, feel free to reach out. We're just starting to do some podcasting to help educate you and educate the world.
Why should they reach out to us, though?
Why not?
Because, well, one, we've been doing it for a long time. Two, we've...
Back when you didn't have gray hair.
Shut up. We taught digital marketing skills for years to the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. We've done lectures, workshops elsewhere. Again, we love teaching this stuff. So we love doing it as well as teaching it. So that's part of who we are. Mm-hmm. And answering questions, love it.
Yeah, in fact, we're willing to educate you kind of as much as, we sit down in consultation as much as you want to be educated.
Correct.
Most people are... just go do it.
Yeah, right. Sacrifice the chickens and just put me on page.
Can I install a water main to my house? Yes. Should I? No.
Right.
You get the freedom to just kind of go do what you do well, and you leave the marketing to us, and that's what an awful lot of clients are doing these days with us.
So I've trained people to do their own SEO. I've certainly trained my own staff. We get results. That's what we're all about. Otherwise, we keep working until we get them.
Yep. And a little bit about Make It Loud, just so you know, as we're starting out here. Make It Loud was started in 2004 in my basement, and we just kind of kept growing. And almost 14 years ago, we moved into this space, which is a storefront over on Georgia 20.
Years?
I know. Can you believe that?
Yeah, Lord, we're old.
You are.
Yeah.
But we moved into this storefront so that we could kind of marry our expertise with good old-fashioned relationship. In fact, on our conference room wall, it says, relationship experience in technology, and we kind of mean all of those things, and are experts in those kinds of things with respect to marketing. So we can help you. We're happy to sit down and have a telephone call with you, or we do a lot of Zoom. where we meet people online these days as well. It's just as good as having somebody right in front of you.
I joke about being a local throat to choke. And the one time I had a client who drove all the way over
he was pissed.
From Six Flags. He was a pest control. He owned a pest
Which
control
is about
company.
an hour and 15 minutes away.
At least on a good day. Otherwise, UPS could get here quicker. But he came screaming in. I was sitting up front. I saw his logo on his truck. I knew exactly who it was because I'd recently just given him his ranking report. He came walking in and he goes, "You Cliff?" I stood up to greet him. "You Cliff?"
Did you say yes?
Oh yeah. I said yes. He goes, "I need to talk to you about my SEO." And I was like, "All right, sit down." I had my laptop open and all that. And he said, "I've had 3 calls this week saying they couldn't find me on Google." And I said, "Really?" I said, "So, all right, let's try something. Give me a keyword." And he gave me a keyword, page 1. Give me another, page 1. Give me another, page 1. About 10 of those. And we found him on page 1 for every keyword he gave me. In fact, in those days, multiple rankings were way more frequent, and for pest control Cobb County, he was 8 out of 10 slots. And I looked at him at that point. I said, "So how we doing?" He goes, "Oh, you're doing good. You're doing good." I said, "Tell you what, if you can find anybody doing it better, go ahead and fire us and move on with them." He went, No.
That's where
you guys are good.
How do you think those people who
And that's
sent
what I
those
did.
emails actually found you?
Exactly.
It wasn't because you were buried on page 100.
Correct. And I said to him, I said, tell me more about these calls. And he said, "Yeah, they called me and said they couldn't find me on page 1 and they could do SEO." And I went, "So it was a sales call." He had never even considered it. He went, "Yeah." I went, "That's the issue. Because they found you on page 1 and they knew you were optimizing your site, they figured they could try to steal you away from us." And he goes, "Oh." And I said, "Here's what I want you to do. Next time they call you with that, ask them, what search term did you use to find me? And just to see." And they'll go, oh, well, I don't have that information." Because they don't. And it was funny because he was as happy as he could be once he drove all the way over here.
And that actually brings up one other point before we kind of close it out. The people who are reaching out to you are generally not doing their work. So you're far better off to go find somebody local that you can sit down in front of, at least on Zoom, and have a conversation with, than responding to somebody who might be calling you, because there's an awful lot of that stuff out there. I get it. They go, "Hey, I can't find your website in Google." Really? Because it's on page 1, number 1 in so many ridiculous searches. But we again, if somebody's reaching out to you, you want to be skeptical of what they're doing. We have about a staff of 10, right? I think it is. I think there are 10 of us right now. No, 9.
I was about to say,
I
I can't count that high. You're the math genius.
I know.
But I'm the writer.
But again, I only got.
Yeah.
We have 9 people on staff right now. All of our employees are on our payroll. We don't outsource anything. That's something else you'll find with other agencies, is they're outsourcing stuff to the Philippines or Mexico or India is another big one.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find that stuff, and ultimately those kinds of things generally don't work either. So
A lot of times.
when you're working with us, you're working with the people who are actually doing the work. So we have, I think we only have 1 person on staff who's been with us less than 5 years. The others are more in the 5 to 13 years now. Cliff, you've been on staff since 2009. So if you're looking for people or looking for somebody to help you out, we'd be happy to consult with you, and we can do it from anywhere in the United States with Zoom. If not, go find somebody local. Go find somebody you can sit down with and have a conversation with who's going to take your business seriously, like we take your business seriously, and make sure that they understand and can tell you exactly what they're going to go do, so that they have a strategy for you and can really help you select the marketing that you really need.
That's one of my big pet peeves too, is when I had somebody tell me that I didn't have a mind for SEO. Okay, I started it here, so I kind of think I do, and I've explained it to so many people that
16 years later.
Yeah, right. I think I might have an edge on it. But explaining it to people that aren't technical, it's not that hard to explain and walk people through. So that's a red flag to me when people are burying you with jargon and techno speak and techno babble and all that. It's pretty straightforward what it takes to rank a website. Now, Google doesn't tell you exactly what it takes, but if you've been around long enough and you've done it long enough, you have a good feel for what actually moves the meter and helps you climb to page 1. So, make sure you get somebody who will explain it in simple terms. Otherwise, don't trust them.
Yep. And our goal is to help broadcast you to the world. That's our tagline.
Yep.
Make it loud, broadcasting your business to the world. You can reach us at makeitloud.net online. You can take a look at our website, or you can reach the office at 678-325-4007. I'm John at makeitloud.net. We'd be happy to assist you if you happen to see this and are looking for some guys who just do the work. That would be us, and we'll speak the truth to you even more. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for tuning in.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Improving Your Digital Marketing podcast by Make It Loud. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. To hear other episodes, visit www.makeitloud.net and be sure to follow us on your favorite social media platform. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest on this podcast are their own. The information contained in this podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be legal advice. The Improving Your Digital Marketing podcast is produced in studios in Atlanta, Georgia. No chickens were harmed in the making of this podcast.